Well, awesome. Welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself, Jose?
Yeah, absolutely, Devin. This is Jose Belman, and I am a real estate investor, and I am based out of Salinas, California. So thanks, Devin, for having me on board here.
Awesome. Beautiful, man. I'm happy to have you. Appreciate you taking your time to come here and do this interview with me. To get started, you want to talk about like where you're from? I know you kind of just mentioned that, but where you're from, like your story from the moment you were born in a nutshell to where you're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, I'm from Salinas, California, and I'm 41 years old. I've been living in Salinas, California, all the way up to the age of near 17 years old, and moved over to the Bay Area, San Jose. Went to college, did the whole thing, and lived in dorms and did the whole frat thing as well. I mean, the whole 9 yards of what you call the whole college lifestyle. But my life really started a little different because at the age of 18, I was looking for a job already because like cliche as it sounds, like they say, I literally was honestly broke, really completely, where I would eat those $2 tacos at Jack in the Box and a M&Ms at 7-Eleven. That was it right there. And I've been doing real estate since then, at the age of 18 up to right now. And frankly, it's been a very like wild ride. I like it. I mean, there's so many stories that I think this session won't cover it, but there's so many things, and even this last 2 years. But that's in a nutshell. I like it, and I think throughout this interview, I'll share really where my passion's at and where it's heading.
Beautiful. I love it, man. Um, Cool. You kind of mentioned you went to school, so you want to give us a little idea of like what did you graduate with a degree, and if you did, what degree did you get?
Oh man, I'm laughing at it because I wanted to drop out, and I think 2 years in, it was very. So Devin, I don't know about you, but when I was in high school or middle school or elementary, man, I didn't have any good grades. I was not a good kid in school. In fact, I never really liked school, but I went to study to be first an attorney. That was, I changed my what you call your degree twice, actually three times. I wanted to be an attorney, then ironically wanted to be a dentist. Okay, then from a dentist, I said I wanted to be an investor because I was already working for a real estate investment company. But I eventually graduated 4 years in as a finance and economics degree from San Jose. And I wanted to drop out because I was already making decent, good enough money already in my sophomore year. So I didn't understand why I needed to continue, right? Because I was making the income equivalent to people making in a year in a few months. So, but I finished it up and called it a day. But still going to school, as you will probably talk about this. We never stop.
Yeah, still getting educated. Um, yeah, I mean that perfectly leads into this question. How do you educate yourself now? Self-education, personal development, and then also specifically for your industry and your business.
Yeah, totally. So that's really something that thankfully the people I was hanging around when they invited me to their company in my early 18 years old, 19-year-old, 20 years old, I started being around really entrepreneurial spirited owners that were the ones that always encouraged me to, hey, we're going to go to this expo in San Francisco, of which I didn't know what that was. I was just being told what to do. And I started getting on that rhythm at a really young age where they called it the Annex. So if you Google that Annex, it's a place where today a lot of people haven't heard about it. It's really the pinnacle of what today called it conferences. Annex was all kinds of different booths, all kinds of different speakers. It was just like a Rolodex of speakers of any kind you wanted. If you wanted to hear a chiropractor, how he started his business. If you wanted to hear Donald Trump talk how he did real estate, they were all there. So I started there, and I never stopped, to be frank with you. And I still continue up to date. So one is going to conferences. I don't go to them as often. Now I speak at the conference. Before I was the one that would sit down, and I still do that. But now I go to the conferences and share the wisdom that I received. And one of the things that I do is I still read a lot of books. I mean, I read them a lot. I write a lot. I read it, but I write a lot. So when I read it, I write it. And frankly, besides that, I also read the Bible. A lot of the stuff that's in these books are all biblical, but mainly those are the two things. And then lastly is, thankfully to God, a lot of the people that are in my circle now, they're they're very well off and spiritually and also with business, that it keeps me aligned and they lift me up. Like I'm the little cub. I'm 41 years old, but I'm dealing with people that have lifted me to that point. So that really keeps me on there, and it keeps me on my toes, really, really tight.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you sharing that. I'm sure you'll appreciate this question. I'm sure you'll have a lot to say. What gives you hope?
Oh man, I mean, my faith to Christ a lot. I mean, that's my foundation. It's been my foundation, and it's been my light to what I don't see today. It's actually something that I really that has lifted my family, my business, my colleagues, and it has been an area that has kept me going on dark days like the pandemic or challenges that really happen. A lot of the things that happen in our lives are either to make you better or even discourage you. But frankly, because my faith is so founded on Christ, Devin, it has really given me an inspiration of what the greater things are waiting for me by allowing myself for letting God do his work. And the moment I let that go for me, I started to realize that, wait a second, I mean, if I keep living this way and functioning this way, I mean, God knows what other things I could do. And it all started by, frankly, letting go. I let go of my ideas or what I wanted or where I wanted to go. I mean, if you talk to the Jose in 2017 and older, I mean, I wanted to conquer the world. I wanted to drive the fastest car, which I did at the age of 19. I bought a brand new Corvette at the dealership in Stevens Creek in San Jose off the dealer. Big mistake, because I blew it all in that car. I was living the Fast and the Furious life, which, look, it's nothing bad on that. It's the fact that I was not responsible. I was putting a lot of things, but my hope really relies heavily on Christ. I really think that today God is calling leaders, spiritual, faith-driven leaders, to change the world, to change it to the better. And people like you and people like your partner, myself, we're all just vessels in this earth. That's the way I would look at it.
Beautiful. I love it, man. Appreciate the wisdom and your kind words. What would you tell your younger self? You kind of went into a little bit, let's say either like 18 to early 20s, right? What advice would you give for him?
It's a very interesting question because I have my little girl, right? She's 4 years old, and well, 3, she's gonna be 4. But to be frank with you, um, one of the things that I would say is that uh, your integrity, your integrity is everything of who you are. Because today, integrity is being misunderstood by following what the world is asking for you to be. So for that nature, this is the reason why identity today is very challenged, because there's a lot of what people would say what success will look like, or what failure is supposed to look like, or what wealth and poorness is, or what humility is supposed to look like. And because of those reasons, um, that integrity is for you to be honest with yourself of what Christ called you to be. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen, even the adults, younger generation, that they're not understanding who they are. And because the reason they don't know who they are living a life where they are in chains for the rest of their life, being slave to a system or an identity that they never wanted to be. I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, growing up, my mom and dad said never talk to strangers, or money is the root of all evil. Now, let me give you a different understanding about money, that money does solve problems. I mean, it doesn't bother me to go to vacation, right? Like if I can. And frankly, today, vacation for me is having a quiet morning. Like now that I have a little girl, that's my vacation. But the fact is that money is, if you put money first, yeah, it's you. I'm putting money first before my wife, or money before God, or money before even killing a brother or sister with words for money. That is not good. But having abundancy, a mindset, and using the money for goodness is a whole different conversation. So in short, Devin, I'll tell you right now is that integrity is everything. The fact that, if I say I'm going to do this, if I say I'm going to jump on this video, or it says a lot of who you are. And I think sometimes, frankly, I think a lot of us really cut ourselves short who we really are, because we say a lot of things, but our actions don't match. And I think if you continue to live like that, it's people are going to catch on it. And I think that's really the thing I would say to myself. And I think I'll add another one, Devin, because I think that if you don't put Christ in your life first, I mean, I'm really firm on that. And I always told this to my wife. I want a spiritual inheritance to my daughter, right? Spiritual inheritance is just knowing her, that she knows Christ for me. That gives me like a blessing. If God calls me today, I'm good. Like my daughter knows it. For me, I'm good right there. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Appreciate that. And I think a lot of people who watch this or listen to it should definitely implement that into their lives. And I think it's definitely something that everyone needs to hear and everyone needs to embody, is to be a man of integrity, and definitely to put God and Christ above all else. Right.
Oh yeah. No, it's, Devin, it's as we're talking here, like a very casual talk, there's when I was and you could stop me at wherever point that it's not going at the flow, but I'll tell you one thing. I lived my life and I don't know if I share you a brief of my testimony, but I lived my life I'm 41 till the age of 37. I lived my life running my life in the system, meaning being a very successful entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong with that, but just follow me where I'm going. Because who doesn't want their child to be successful, right? Or who doesn't want their brother and sister? Unfortunately, there's the opposite in some situations, but I would want to be successful. But the problem is that with really putting that first over everything, is that I reached a point in my life where I put that completely. I was working, let's just call it 12 to 18-hour days. And I would literally fly off to a conference tomorrow just because there's this guy that's going to talk. And don't get me wrong, that's also nice. But that was my life. I was always on the grind, always on the grind, always on the grind. No structure, always looking at every little bright new idea that would come out. And I was doing it all. But I remember this story when my friend gave me the Bible. It was the first time. And I had it, and I don't know if you do have a lamp right next to your bed or a lamp nearby where you read books and you stack them up. Well, I had my Bible right there that they gave me maybe in 2011. And it was always there. And I had all my business books piled up. I mean, every business book you could imagine. I have a lot of books that I've read for a long time. And I left my Bible at the last one. It was always the bottom one. Next it's a long story, but the point of what I'm trying to tell you is that my life looked like ruins. I mean, I was looking like I was doing really successfully, but I was really dry. I was really dry completely. My relationship was getting broken. Um, the it was almost like almost stopping for everything you want, and you would move and do anything possible just to achieve the goal. And that's where the issue I found that was a flaw when I was climbing that ladder that I say one times. It wasn't straight, it was leaning. Once I went up there, I'm like, this ladder is not straight, it's leaning. And I couldn't build anything because I always thought it was me. And today I want to build leaders, I want to build a team, I want to build other leaders, other leaders, other leaders. And then that's really what a really good purpose, if I could say it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Nice.
Appreciate you sharing. I'm sure a lot of people will resonate with that, when it comes to business status, power, success, the pursuit of these things, just making sure it's not above everything, everything else, and also not allowing it to be allow you to destroy the other areas of life because you're just focused on that. Sorry, I'm out here in the middle of the country, so sometimes my connection cuts off. Can you hear me? Yeah.
You're good.
Cool. You can hear me? Cool.
I hear you. I hear you.
Awesome. Let me see here. Cool. What is the biggest problem you see for yourself and your team moving, like, in this next year? What do you think is going to be the biggest problem for you or your team?
Oh yeah. I had it's so funny because it's still fresh in my mind. I'm actually a big implementer. I like to train like my team on a so I call it the Jesus way. So I talk to them and I show them. So I gotta show them, right? But one of the things that I know, or at least I feel is gonna happen, is that there's gonna be a few of them that are not gonna be able to pull their weight. Because the reason I say that is because it's just sometimes it's just like when you have 10 sheep going up the hill, there's always going to be the few that are going to be in the behind that can't really carry that load all the way to the hill. And so one of the things that I don't want to say fear, but because I have a really good heart, I really want them to all really be phenomenal. I want them to be eagles so that they could fly and kind of go beyond to Mount Everest. Is that um, unfortunately their faith is going to be challenged, and I can't control that. I can only show you, right? And that faith is going to get challenged when the challenge gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the reason it's getting bigger is because we're all growing, and therefore the challenge gets bigger because everybody's growing, but the other one still can't catch up to it because it's seeing that everybody else is moving at a different rate and a frequency per se, and therefore they can't. So for example, I mean, I did a training, I think it was for 2 hours and a half. And then now today my trainings, they don't seem really long for me. They're really short for me. They seem really good. And they're very effective because everybody is, they're being really receptive and they're applying them. But, you know, it's kind of like when you have that training, and then after you do the training, as you go to a conference and you're really pumped, but then you lose that momentum after a week. It cools down because you kind of got out of that, right? So at that point, I really feel like that challenge from one of the persons is it's gonna have to pull up, and it's gonna be my decision of like how long are you gonna let them kind of go, to keep carrying that weight, because you have so much of a kind heart. You're trying not to do it. You want to help them out, but it's going to be up to them at the end of the day to make it work. So that's my challenge that I see.
And just for the audience to know, how many employees or people do you have working under you?
Um, I think it's around 55 right now, 50 to 60. And the only reason I say that, I should know the exact number, Devin. Um, and it's only because there's so many new ones like handyman or cleaners, that I can't keep track of. But personally, me, Devin, uh, I really want to know everybody, like to a personal level, and I really do that. But they're in Oklahoma, the Bay Area, Stockton, and at the office, salespeople, marketing, accounting, legal. I mean, honestly, it's like the whole Avengers team. You have to have each one that honestly plays like a role in that position. Does that make sense? Like if I need a tank, I'm just gonna call the guy that blows things off. I'm gonna only hire that person. And frankly, all of them, Devin, they all are very busy in their role. Does that make sense? So if you're, and I don't know who watches this, Devin, but I'm gonna say it right here. One of the things that a lot of people really don't do, and some that do, is that the ones that don't do it and they don't bring the right person on that role, is because they hired that role not for the person that was meant for that role. For example, like Devin, I see like I mean, from what I see, I think you're like more of a fitness, coach. You know what's going on. If I put you for accounting without knowing that's not your passion, dude, you'll probably do fine, but you don't have that fire to do that. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
and then there's some people and business entrepreneurs that um that just don't let go of that control. Like they want to do it and they're not willing to let go of the control. And that could be for two reasons. It could be one, because they've seen success happen and they don't want to lose the success, and therefore they don't want to add more time and train the other person. And if they do train that other person, in their mind they feel like, well, this person may take all my knowledge and wisdom and whatnot, right? But the problem with that is that, unfortunately, in this world, like, let's use Jeff Bezos. I mean, he has a system, and that system is multiply. So all you're doing is you're building a system, whereas you're one Devin, I'm one Jose. They're not going to duplicate another Jose that I know of, unless like I'm at another life. But so if everything were to go out today, I lose everything today, I'll be okay, because I could rebuild it again, because it's all here. I could go back, rebuild it. And that's the issue with people, because they feel like another one is gonna, take over. But frankly, it's a mind thing. It's a you versus him, and it's really only you against you. Does that make sense? I
Yeah.
think that's really where it's at.
Mhm. What would you say for in the process of scaling a business for an entrepreneur, from wanting to let go of that control and those roles, right? How important is it to have like already have success in those certain areas and have those systems and processes in place that are getting results before outsourcing it or hiring in those roles? Like, how important is it for that? Or would you say no, as soon as you can get people in there? What would your advice be on that?
No, I know that answer really easy, because I seen both sides. So that's the only way. I would be not a good question to answer if I didn't go through both, because I could give you both experiences.
Mhm.
So the first thing is that I did one where I scaled really fast. I didn't even I kept this model. I need an accountant, hire an accountant. I need a marketing, I hire a marketing. I need somebody to change windows, change the windows. I need somebody to raise the money, raise the money. But here's the problem with that model is that it's kind of like this. Like Devin, you hit me up and you say, Jose, listen, how about I help you shred like and have a six pack, right? But you're just a really good speaker, but you really don't even have that on your own, and and you don't even seem like you know that knowledge, or you're only telling me but you're not showing me. per se. You're just a really good shower, but you can't show me. And for me, that failed because when when they were having issues, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, well, I don't even know what to do, Devin. I mean, you're the accountant. Why don't you figure it out? Why don't you figure it out, Diksha? That's her name for my marketing. If she watches this, it's not what I mean. But you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I know how to talk on videos. I know how to raise money. I know how to scale the company by knowing accounting. I know how, if you give me a financial statement, I'll tell you what it is. And it's better that you need to know at the minimal the basics. You need to know the basics, at least for anything you're going to hire. And if you know, you'll start to understand and you want to know how your company is running. So, as an example, if you don't know how to read a balance sheet, for example, a balance sheet is obviously an important document that if you're running a business and your CPA sends it to you, yeah, you should probably sit with them and get to know it, study it. What is this? Because you want to also know that your CPA is also doing what's in favor for you. Because what would that mean if you don't know what it means? Your social media person, if you're not comfortable, like, to know that you could do it and they're doing it and you're not following, that's going to cause even more chaos. And it's like, I call it, when you're growing up, my mom, my dad would always tell me, Jose, I know at one point, you already have people that change your oil and everything. I know how to change the oil. I know how to change the tire. I know how to, like, jack up a car if I need to do all that. I don't do it anymore, but I know how that goes. Does that make sense? You
Yeah.
have to, I really think that's a very vital thing. But also, I don't really think you should really dive your head in the sand deeply on each one. You just need to know the basics. And at that point, and this is the way I do it, everything I'm telling you is exactly how I'm doing it. I tap on the shoulder. I just hit them up. Like, I'm like, how's this going? I don't let them ride on their own. Does that make sense? I'll be like, Devin, how's this going? Hey, let's have our meeting on Friday. Like, it's the CEO of your own company. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's exactly it. I mean, was that helpful?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Cool. I know you're gonna say Jesus, but
Hey, just lay it on me.
yeah, but what motivates you?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's for sure. But let me give you an answer so that I could give you some value. It is, but actually it's funny, Devin, because you had a good idea, and I appreciate that, because sometimes it's given. But today, what really motivates me is knowing what my purpose is here. See, the thing is, motivation for me is existing, but it is not what's in a fire that gets me going. Motivation in today's world is the fact that you're getting encouraged what you need to do to get going. That's what I see in motivation. For me, motivation today is now translated into what are you doing and why are you doing it. That's my motivation. And so I'll answer it to you here. Um, it is really, to be frank with you, is to help people reach their purpose into some fashion or whatever it is. And I'll tell you in what simple words. I do talk to a lot of people daily, and that's because that's my purpose. Like, it's not even a energy, or it's not a work that I need to do. It's not it asking me to do extra. It's actually, I want to. So if I could talk to 100 people in one day, uh, without even selling them a product, I would be happy to do that for hours, because it gives me a lot of joy that I am helping you change your life for forever, if that makes sense. And I feel that a lot of, and this is my opinion, Devin, I feel like today, a lot of people, business people, and not even business people, people of all day in life, they don't know what they do and why they do it for. You do have the typical answer of, yeah, like today I asked my team, So why are you all here? I asked each one of them, and uh, and I do hear some answers that it is to get cash and money. I mean, yes, I get it. I need to keep the lights on in my room, in my house. That I know, and I know I need money for my gas in my car. But life is not all going to be about that. It's not going to be just that. Is why did God even created you? I mean, do you know? And a lot of people don't know. And I feel like that today, if you know what you're built or what you're created, as an example of my example, it's priceless. I mean, if God called me today, I'll be really happy because I found it. Does that make sense? And sadly, sometimes, in my past life, I don't know if I told you this, Devin, but I had a lot of panic attacks. And panic attacks, anxiety attacks. When I would drive in my car, even starting the car, my hands would get very sweaty, and my face would turn really pale. And then I felt like I would lose all the air in my breathing right away, and I was going to collapse. And so the fact that now I live a very different life where I know where I want to go and do and change, I mean, that's priceless. It's super priceless. It's just, you could go anywhere in the world's ending, you're still in good shape. It just keeps you going. So that's really what motivates me, knowing my purpose. I think that's a big blessing that I think people that should really encourage. Now, if you're watching this video, and you don't even know what's your purpose, or you're wondering, like, why do I do what I do? I would encourage you to spend some quiet time, like on your own, uh, or even with your spouse, because I said this in the past, and I'll stay really firm on this. What I'm going to say is, you may have a vision, as we all call it. I think in the beginning of the year, right, Devin, people do a lot of vision. What is it? Vision boards, right? And don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with those. But if you go and Google vision boards, or you look at other people's vision boards, you'll look at that vision, right? Like, it'll be Jose's vision. But a vision, it really should be including your partner's vision in that vision. Not your vision, but the partner's vision. Does that make sense? And sometimes that vision that's on there, it doesn't include the partner's vision. That already tells you that you have a different type of kingdom that you're looking for. Does that make sense? And that kingdom is not reflected on there. And I think that's something very important that a lot of people just don't get. And it's all about timing. It took me 38 years, so it could take somebody even longer or less. There's never a bad timing.
Mhm. Well, hopefully listening to this and listening to you will help them.
Yeah,
find it sooner.
totally.
So clarify, you said your purpose is to help other people find their purpose. Is that what you claim is your purpose?
Dude, I don't know how to explain it to you, but I've seen it in my own eyes, how that is. I mean, I'll give you one example. There's a guy, a few people, but this guy, um, uh, when you help them understand, through Christ what he could do in your life, and just telling him a few words. I mean, this guy, his name is Ramon. His whole world changed, and I'm not saying it's me. It's Christ changed them. And what happened was, he didn't think that you could be a humble person. His mom and dad always said, you gotta show that you're the man, and there's nothing that's ever gonna hurt you. Just the nature. I mean, they're protecting their son. Don't get me wrong, right? If you look at it that way, they're just trying to protect them. But because of that nature, because that attitude and personality, he really affected his wife and their children. Does that make sense? He really put really hard truths of not allowing them to be humble in the heart. For example, you never say sorry. You never forgive people. You just hammer people like the hammer and a nail. It doesn't matter what it is, and use the hammer as long as it goes down. You understand that point? And the problem with that is you're no longer giving, you're just taking. And the problem with that mindset is that, you know, how far will you go with that? And the problem is not that far. I mean, you're just going to be breaking and shattering, generations of your legacy, and probably leave them with a very heavy burden that they're always going to remember. And I helped him understand what his purpose is through Christ. Like, it was amazing. And when I saw that and it kept going, and I let them do whatever they want to do with their own purpose. Like, isn't that the idea? Is that a lot of people sometimes they say, well, I want to change the world. Well, there's many ways you could change the world. And a lot of times, yeah, money could do it. Yes, bringing like Amazon Prime is going to change it. That's true. Everything is true. But we're in the people business, we call it. We're in a relationship business. Like, how you have clients, huh, Devin? You have to talk to them. You got to get to know them. And it's just not a transaction. That's the problem. That today we're all transaction based versus relationship based. So that's pretty much like what I would say on that part.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of use from that, especially on I think being prideful is the hardest part. And I think too, what I've noticed is especially in like business, like there's a lot of successful business people who are very humble, and there's society and media attention really rewards pride. Like, I am the best. I'm a badass. Like, and flexing, whatever type of material or stuff like that. And people glorify that. And so I think that can definitely help a lot of people on their journey of
I agree. I mean, I don't know how much time we got, Devin, but I'm good with time. But I think this is a good point to come back at it, because I think you're a younger gentleman, like, in that generation. And today, my little girl, she's coming out of a different generation, and whatever comes. But the identity of it's $1 billion industry where they sell you on what you should, or what success supposed to look like, or if you don't have that, it would also make you feel less as you don't have it. And so because of that, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure that they're putting some good out there, and they're more likely not bad people, but it's because they also don't see that. We call it the leading the blind to the blind, meaning it's only you're confusing more people for that reason. And what's going to happen is once you know who you are, and you accept who you are, and you literally don't care, and I mean it with honest truth, you don't care what other people think of who you are. You just don't care, and you have no fear. If you put those two together, you're unstoppable completely. And yeah, you're going to get challenged a few times. Oh my gosh, I'm going to do this. But see, the thing is, you don't do it because people or somebody has told you that you can't be that. You see what I'm saying? Or, for example, I was raised in East Salinas, California. I was telling a good friend of mine, because he was asking me, I think 2 days ago, and I gave him the street. He knows Salinas, and he goes, "Oh my goodness!" He just looked at me. "Oh my goodness!" Like that's a very that's a war zone area. And I go, "Really? I didn't even think it was a war zone because I was raised there, right?" And but what am I trying to get to you? What I'm trying to get to you is that when I was raised in that area, I was told already that in order to be, let's say, an attorney, you had to have rich parents. My mom, my dad would always tell me that, Jose, like, there's no way you could be an attorney. I remember that. And I remember that my counselor in high school, I laughing at it because I got a memory on it. I remember I was gonna graduate with a 1.4 GPA or 1.5. And I remember this, and I was sitting in the desk. You're gonna laugh at this. He goes, Jose, so where are you gonna go out of high school? And I don't know what he meant by that, because I really thought he was really helping me. Talking about, I feel like he was leading me to kind of go where you need to go. And I said, well, I want to go to Clemson College, because I like the paw. I was just a fan of the paw and the color. And if you don't know what that is, it's a really nice college. Well, good luck with that, because I don't really see you even graduating. I said, and I remember when he told me that. And then I asked him, so how can I do it? I just asked him. And this is where mentors come. And he goes, well, how can I do it? Well, you have to take 15 units. You got to go to winter school. You got to go to summer school. You have to take an adult class. Basically, my life was going to be in school until the day I finished school. So this is what I said to him. And it was a really ignorant answer or question, but it was ignorant because I was ignorant. I didn't know what was the real answer. And I said, so it's possible. This is not being a smart boy. I just literally answered it. It's possible that. And he looked at me with a smirk and he says, yes, but I don't think you're capable. Does that make sense what I'm telling you? And I really got hurt. I really got really offended, because my dreams got shattered right there. I really felt bad. I really felt really bad. And I said, wow, so where am I going to go? I really thought about it. I'm like, so I might as well just keep working at the flea market. That was where I was working at. I said, I might as well just start thinking how I'm going to live and all this stuff. So I took the challenge. I went to every class. I ended up graduating half a semester sooner in high school. And that just tells you what you say, motivation, right? And but when he was telling me what kind of people will graduate, or who could be and what you could be, I think that right there is the misconception of what it is. Like you said, that people flex. I mean, yeah, there's people that flex and they do all this stuff, but then you start to realize, and this goes to another topic of the people that you associate with, because I mean, that could be success, but where's that success coming from? Where is that success really coming from? And who is teaching you? Because there's two ways how you receive information, and that's by visual and by hearing. And visually, people, what is it? Instagram is all visual, right? So majority is all visual. Facebook. And then you got friends, who are you hanging around? They say that the 5 people around you is what makes up you, and I think that should be those 2 things is something people should really evaluate.
And that's not caring what other people think about you and then not being afraid.
Yeah, I think, and I say respectfully, not to the way to say like, well, Devin, I'm gonna just like say these things about you and I don't care. I don't mean it that way. What I mean is, do what you're gifted to do without any in you or what you're doing. Keep believing that you could achieve it. Well, like I see you posting videos and everything, right? And that's I love it, because you're driven, you know what you want, and you're not going to turn back. And I think people really function in that way. I think they'll reach a lot of doors that will open, because they know what they're here for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that your friends. I mean, when if you see my friends, Devin, or your friends or whoever's friends, I could tell you who you are, right? I could tell you what you're made of, and I could tell you all that. I mean, just show me your friends, right? Who you hang around with. I mean, some of my friends right now, Devin, are probably more pastors than your typical like business person, and it's just like that's just what I like. That's just who I am, and I have my success real estate business people in the country. I mean, really, really great people. Don't get me wrong. That's what God put me there, and it's just whatever I'm due to do there.
Absolutely. How important would you say environment is to your success? Like the actual town, city, like obviously the people you associate with, but what about the culture, the state, the country, the city, the town? Like how important is that to dictate what your future will be?
It's massive. It's massive. I mean, completely. I mean, um, I mean, it's you could only be a diamond so long in an area, and no longer you'll be a diamond, because there'll be a time and point. I mean, you'll shine there, but the question is for how long you'll be shining there. And it's all about how long you could keep polishing that diamond, because that diamond loses its shine at some point. And if you want to be a diamond, you also need to be in areas where diamonds are at. Does that make sense? The diamond was found in this area, yeah, but the diamond was not meant to be there. It was meant to be wherever you need to go and further. For example, like if you want to try this out, and I'm sure you travel, but if you try this out, if you go travel 100 miles from your home base, if you go and you come back, you'll have more ideas than you ever did at your home base. Does that make sense? You'll have a lot of ideas. uh and secondly is, and this is where the major one is for a lot of people, is that people are looking for comfort, and they want to stay in areas where they're comfortable. They want to stay in areas where their people are at. I'm Mexican, as you can tell. If you can't tell, I mean, basically, Salinas is predominantly, Hispanic or Mexican. And the problem is that when I was growing up and when I went to San Jose, it was a culture shock, meaning that I had never seen that many Indians or Persians or Caucasians or African Americans. And once I was in San Jose, and this is really what happened, was I learned much more from other people than I ever did where I was in my home base, because there were so many different cultures. And the problem today is that people, with this whole racial thing going on that unfortunately we live on today, is um, it really puts boundaries, unfortunately, with people who have been affected by it, that they don't want to open or talk to sometimes, or they don't want to say who they are. But I think if you are predominantly looking to move and change, I would do it. Especially if you're single, ASAP. Not even a question.
For sure, for sure. And what advice would you give for because majority of my clients, I have a decent amount that are middle age, 35 to 45. I have a decent amount, but primarily my audience, people that are going to be listening to this and watching this, are between 18 and 25 typically. What advice would you give for, an 18 to 25-year-old? What are the things that they should be focused on? What are the skill sets, characteristics, moving? What advice would you just give for someone at that age?
Yeah, very easy answer. I honestly would. I'm going to give you two answers. One with the assumption you have no money. If you have no money, you make that assumption. I would honestly go and work for free for somebody that's successful immediately. Just honestly, just reach out to them and be really upfront. Let them know what you're trying to achieve. And the reason I would do that is because a mentor already went through that process, and you're just gaining that advantage of killing many years in advance of errors. I mean, I still make errors even though I have mentors that I stay really close with. And even those mentors who we just became really close friends. But if you have money or you could afford it, I mean, I would look for a mentor and pay them if you can. And if you don't pay them, put some sweat equity on their business. I'll give you an example. A good friend of mine today said, hey, my son wants to start real estate. He's 18 years old. I asked him, I said, well, look, he could do this at our office temporarily and just have him just absorb, like just let him be receptive and let him be guided to where he's going to go. But we will let that and continue in that format, whether you have no money or have money. I would say 100% always have a mentor that is at that level that you're looking for. I would also have and not a mentor, I would have a friend or somebody that is near your same level always. And the third one would be always be that mentor to somebody younger. And the reason why is because a lot of people don't understand what I'm going to say, but maybe because of the fear of speaking or on stage or on videos like you are, Devin. But the more you share and you teach somebody, you also become really wise, and you become wiser in many ways that you never imagined, because you're also helping, you're giving, and you receive. So if you do those two formats, whether you have money or don't money, those are the best formats. Now, if you can't find that person, you don't know what mentor, uh, thanks to God that social media is around. Because if you really honestly type in a city and you put a name, let's say Salinas real estate, or Memphis, Tennessee real estate, Miami real estate, you name it. I mean, there's a lot of people and you'll catch on it. And all you do is you send a message. Back in early in the 90s, in 2000s, Devin, we didn't have social media as effective. We had MySpace was barely starting. Like that, like it was. We had AOL, Netscape. We didn't have. We had Yahoo was the most popular thing ever. That's like pretty much buried right now. I still have my same Yahoo email, but guess how I would do my sales at that time? I would mail letters and wait for 7 to 10 days until they would call me back. Can you believe that? Like, look at the power right now. You're in another state and I'm in California, right? And otherwise, I would be like, I would scratch my head. I was like, wonder what those people out there in Texas would be doing right now. You know, it's like today there's a mentor in everywhere you could find right this moment.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So if you're broke in between 18 and 25, work for free to get the free mentorship from the industry you want to be in, right? So you have to
Yep.
get, like if you want to be in real estate or fitness or whatever industry you want to be in, and you want to work for free, or if you have money, you would recommend just hiring those mentors so you can be successful in whatever it is that you want to do.
Yep. That's exactly right. There's just so much, Devin. That's amazing. I'm really happy that a lot of that crowd would see that. Hopefully they'll get somebody at that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. I think this was, no offense to the other four, because all four of them are going to be uploaded. All five of these are going to be uploaded, but I think this is the longest one. I think honestly, we went you went in depth more on these topics. I think it's going to be very transformational for the audience and the people that listen to this.
Nice. Yeah, it's my honor, Devin. I'll just share these last words. I know we're gonna log off and clock off. I just want God to bless you and your partner a lot, and your platform. I do see a lot in your life that I've seen and I'm seeing, and it gives me excited to see that transformation, because that's what we're called in, is to be transformed to better versions of ourselves. And unfortunately, some of them never find it. They never get transformed because they never took that leap of faith to be at that place. And and I know that as you're going, if we talk 10 years later, I'll be 51, and I have an idea where you'll be at. because of what you're doing and what you're giving, and not only that, but because you believe in Christ, and I think He's gonna change you, uh, just like He did to all His people, and He's gonna do it for you and your business, and He's gonna put, there's no coincidence that we met, right? It's just not it's not planned. It's something already organized, that I feel like other people are going to be aligned to you, and I think that's what's going to keep happening as long as you keep your feet on that foundation. So I just wanted to share that, and lastly, thanks a lot for allowing me to be here. And sorry for that hour thing, but I was just speaking all pure, no script.
Yeah, yeah, amen. I appreciate your kind words, and I feel exactly the same. And no, definitely, honestly, I'm glad that we got to speak this long. I really wanted to ask you those questions because it's helpful for me, and I know it's going to be helpful for a lot of people. And
Nice.
yeah, yeah, where can people stay connected with you or find you on social media or whatever you have?
Yeah, no problem. So you could find me at Jose Belman Jr. So Jose Belman Jr. I'm at all platforms. I'm at TikTok, LinkedIn. I mean, and not that I'm trying to promote anything, but as you know, Devin, I really just speak with it's in the heart, and just being who I am. But yeah, I would love to connect with your platform people, and just continue this type of relationship. That's amazing.
Absolutely, brother. Cool, man. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Devin.
God
Take
bless.
care. Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye.